For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain never stopped. Rivers swallowed entire villages, mountains cracked apart, the sky turned black, and the stars disappeared. People began to whisper, "Has God abandoned the world?" In a small, forgotten village lived a 12-year-old orphan named Aarav. He owned nothing but an old brass lamp left behind by his grandmother. Before she took her last breath, she looked into his eyes and said, "When darkness covers the earth, this lamp will lead you to God. But remember, God rarely appears the way people expect." Aarav never understood those words until one stormy night, the lamp lit itself with a mysterious blue flame. A voice echoed from within, "Find the 7 gates before the last star falls." And then the light vanished. The villagers laughed at him, but an old blind monk trembled with fear. The prophecy has begun. He handed Aarav an ancient map and pointed toward distant mountains, hidden beyond the horizon. Without hesitation, the young boy began his journey. His path was filled with danger, through haunted forests, across frozen peaks, and into lands where no traveler had ever returned. One day, Aarav discovered a wounded wolf trapped in iron chains. Although he had almost nothing to eat, he freed the animal and shared his final piece of bread. From that moment on, the wolf never left his side. Together, they reached the desert of echoes. Every grain of sand whispered fear into his ears. "You are weak. You will fail. No one will remember you." But Aarav ignored the voices and followed only the blue light of the lamp. At the end of the desert stood the first gate. Carved into the stone were simple words, "Only those who forgive may enter." With tears in his eyes, Aarav forgave everyone who had ever hurt him. Slowly, the giant gate opened. Beyond it floated a magnificent city above the clouds. Golden towers sparkled under heavenly light, yet every person inside had been turned to stone. In the center of the palace stood a magical mirror. When Aarav looked into it, he saw himself crowned as a mighty king, rich, powerful, worshipped by millions. But there was one terrible truth: he was completely alone. Realizing it was only an illusion born from greed, he smashed the mirror with his lamp. Instantly, thousands of stone statues came back to life. The grateful people handed him a glowing crystal key. His adventure continued. He crossed forests where time flowed backward. He climbed impossible mountains. He even sacrificed the memory of his own mother's voice to save his loyal companion. Yet he never gave up. Finally, he reached the 7th gate. Behind it was no treasure, no throne, only a single candle burning in endless darkness. Then a thunderous voice declared, "If this flame goes out, hope will disappear from humanity forever." Suddenly, a monstrous shadow rose from the darkness, made from every lie, every act of hatred, every betrayal mankind had ever created. It charged toward the tiny flame. A fierce struggle began. The brass lamp shattered, the crystal key dissolved, even the wolf was thrown aside. Aarav stood alone. Then he understood. Darkness could never be defeated by force, only by someone willing to protect the light. He placed his own hands around the fragile flame. The fire burned his skin. The pain was unbearable, but he refused to let go. And he whispered, "If my life can keep hope alive, let it burn." In that instant, the temple exploded with brilliant light. When Aarav opened his eyes, the storms were gone. The sky was clear. Flowers bloomed where ashes once lay. Standing before him was the quiet traveler dressed in white, whom he had met earlier in his journey. But now, his body radiated divine light, brighter than the sun. The wolf bowed. The mountains seemed to kneel, and the traveler smiled gently. I told you, God rarely appears the way people expect. At last, Aarav understood. The humble stranger who had shared bread, kindness, and compassion throughout the journey had been God all along. Years later, Aarav returned home. He never spoke about heavenly gates or miracles. Instead, he built homes for the homeless, fed the hungry, comforted the lonely. People thought he was just an ordinary man, but on stormy nights, children claimed they could still see a mysterious blue light moving across the hills, guiding lost souls back home. Because even in the darkest moments, a single light can change the world forever.